Well, it's I need to do a rear brake job on my 2007 Dodge Grand Caravan. There it is, lovely. So I've got a jack ready to go, jack stand, just in case I do need it. I could tell the brakes have been wearing out, brake pads have been wearing out, so I'm going to opt to replace the rotor, which is the round thing on the left, with new rotor and new pads. And then, so the way this works is the rotor is this round thing. It attaches vertically. It's laying down flat now. It attaches vertically onto the rear axle, spins, along with the inside of the wheel. That's what the old one looks like. It's all kind of scored and rusted. So this is all, I can feel there's a big groove running through this because I let it go too long. So I do need to replace the rotor. You can actually take it to a shop and they can smooth it out for you, but it'd be about the same price as a new one. Here's how the pads work. So there are two brake pads on each side of the rotor. So there's that's the new one. You can see how thick it is. There's the old one. You see how thin it is. So it's basically worn down. I've had these brakes running for, I don't know, 80,000 kilometers or something like that, I believe. There's two on each side. So what happens is there'd be one on this side, and then the one on this side, like that, and they're attached with a caliper, which has a pressurized hydraulic hose from the brake pedal. So when you press the brake pedal as you're driving, it squeezes these two brake pads together, and it basically clamps onto the rotor and brakes your car. So when your brake pads get thin, they lose their ability to grip because there's no material left. And if you look on these, they're really thin. There's almost nothing left, and you can see they're all scored and busted. So these we're starting to wear grooves into that rotor. So what I'll be doing here is jacking up the car, taking off the back wheel, and that'll expose the current rotor that's on there, and a caliper that holds the two brake pads. And then what I'll do is I'll use the impact wrench to open up the lug nuts. You don't need an impact wrench, but if you've got one, it just makes life a lot easier. And then I need that socket with a bit in the middle. There's two guide pins on the caliper itself that I need to unbolt or unpin, I guess. And then I use the hammer and screw or screwdriver to get the brake pads off of the rotor, because they're in there pretty tight with springs. I found on the other one that I just did, that yellow bottle is liquid wrench. It's a penetrating oil, so you spray that on the rotor and it'll break open all the rust and stuff, and then you clean off the rotor with the blue brake cleaning fluid, and because we're going to be all greasy and stuff. So here we go. Okay, so I managed to get some help here. It's my son. So there's two bolts. There's guide pins that connect the caliper, that lock it onto the rotor. So there's two of them. Mackenzie's doing the first one. You see the new rotor, or the old rotor. I sprayed penetrating oil. That's why it's shiny, just to sink in and open up the rust. And then what we'll do is, when that's undone, the caliper will lift off the rotor, and then the pads will come on. You can see the pads. There's the old one, and the new one right there will basically just fit in right there. So we pulled the caliper off. There it is, just hanging. Just pulled it off the top of the rotor. And now what we're going to do is compress that caliper, that piston, that rusted thing on the circular thing. I've got a tool that will push that back, because we need more space, because the new pads are thicker, so this piston will get pushed back to the edge there. So what Mackenzie's doing now is he's using a little brake tool. He's compressing that piston with the tool. He's just twisting it, and there's a little piece of metal for leverage that's right in here, and then it's pushing while he screws the bolt in, and you can see it compressing that piston. I'll let it go for a little bit here. This is where people use clamps, like C-clamps, but it's better to have this tool because it's purpose-built, and it costs like $5. Yeah, you can definitely see that piston going in all the way. Okay. Okay, so we have replaced the caliper, brake pads. We got them all in there, and now Mackenzie's busy putting in these guide pins with his bit driver. Nice. So it'll just maybe put it in by hand. Okay, to start with. Just fits it back in. And that will bolt the caliper back onto the assembly, and you can see it go in. Yep, there it goes. And with that, I put it's called molybdenum extreme pressure grease because there's a lot of pressure down there on those fittings. Okay. So the rotor is on. It's all nice and clean. We brake cleaned it already. Caliper is back on with the new brake pads.
So I have to push that one in more.
Yeah, it has to get quite tight, as tight as you can get it. It won't come out, well, I hope, but if it's in there tight, it won't. All right. Okay, and we're doing the seasonal changeover. So that's our old summer tire going back on in place of the winter, and he just pops that on, and then we'll bolt it up. And the last thing I'm going to do is I've done this for all four now. When you have got everything, all the tires jacked up, get a torque wrench. I'd buy one. They're like $50. You hear that snap? Pop. That is because I've got this dialed in. You can't really see it, to 100 foot-pounds of torque, and then each lug nut needs to get bolted in to the proper foot-pounds of torque. Not too much, not too little. Just right. And then it's safe. The lug nuts won't break or anything, because you can over-tighten them, and they don't come off very well. So that little click means you've reached 100 foot-pounds. So that's what you want. I think I've got them all now. There we go. Okay, all done. Got this jacked up. This car is ready to rock. Alrighty, over and out. So all done. So what you do now is you start the car and you press the brakes a couple times, because you need to reset the pistons that are keeping the brake pads compressed. And then I did a seasonal changeover. So for next year, I had Mackenzie label each of the winter tires PR, passenger rear, okay, and then driver rear, driver front, etc. Okay, all right. Well, now I just bought a pressure washer, so I've asked Mackenzie to go get the directions and figure out what's going on, and he's gone, so I'll have to go get him. All right. So while I'm doing it, I'm doing a seasonal rotation as well. So this is my front, and while I'm doing that, I just want to check my rotors. They're okay. No grooves. And if you look closely, that's the brake caliper. This device there, and that is what houses the brake pads. So, and the brake pads get pushed in by a caliper. Sorry, a piston in the back. You can't see it, but the piston is pressurized with these tubes, these little pipes, and that's when you press your brake pedal in the car, the hydraulic brake fluid pushes through here, and then it pushes on the caliper, and that basically squeezes the pads like that. So when your pads get worn out, let's see if I can get close here. When they get worn out, you need to replace the pads. If you're good, you don't need to replace the rotor all the time. Most people do, actually, but you don't have to unless you feel it's been scored. So there's the brake pad. That's how much is remaining. There's about I'd say a millimeter. So I've got, I don't know, 5,000 more clicks on this, and I'll have to get this off and replace them. If you wait too long when you're doing a brake job, the caliper, the metal part of the brake pad, that starts grinding into your rotor and destroys the rotor, and you need to get it replaced or get it machined or smoothed down, turned they call it sometimes. Anyways, that's it.